Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another Glacial Geek Kill Team Battle Report. I am Phil, the Glacial Geek, coming to you here from Savannah Lion Games in Pooler, Georgia, where I'll be fighting an arena kill team match between my Tyranids, consisting of all Genestealers, against Chris's Death Guard. So the story that we've got going on here is that this ship was a Death Guard ship that had been lost in the warp and become a space Hulk that had just been shifting through the warp and back in and out ever since the Heresy Era. When it popped back out, the Death Guard found out about it and decided to go investigate and try to collect some of the information and possibly relics that may have been in here from the Heresy Era. When they arrived, though, that turns out that they weren't the only ones on board and that it was, in fact, currently infested with a Genestealers, or the Genestealers here. So that is the story that we're going to be dealing with here. The mission that we're going to be playing today is called Desperate Destruction. Essentially what happens is there's 4 objectives here underneath the doors. What happens is that if you control any of those objectives at the end of the battle round, you score a point. If you control both of the objectives that are closest to your opponent's deployment zone, you score 2 points. There's also the supply hatch inside the middle here. You score 1 point if you have more wounds characteristics worth of models in there than your opponent does. And you can score 1 point for that at the end of the battle round. And then we have the 3 cards that we've chosen that will be revealed as we play along to see if you can score points from those as well as for the secondary objectives. So that is the story. That is the mission. Before we go any further, though, let's show you the 2 kill teams that are going to be fighting it out. So for the Tyranids, I'll be running from left to right here. The leader, a Genestealer. Combat veteran, a combat who's a Genestealer. We have a scout who's a Genestealer. We have a veteran who's a Genestealer, and then we have 5 other Genestealers. The Death Guard kill team from left to right will consist of the leader, who's a plague champion with a power fist and plasma pistol. We then have a gunner with a plague spewer, who is the heavy specialist. We have a zealot specialist who has the flail of corruption. We have a combat specialist with the bubonic axe, and we have another gunner with a blight launcher. All right, so those are the 2 armies going over deployment here. I've got a bunch of Genestealers over here. So I've got 2 regular Genestealers. I've also got my scout, my combat, and my leader. I also have a bunch of Genestealers over here, including my veteran specialist. Going over deployment for the Death Guard, we've got his combat specialist. We've got his gunner that's not a specialist over here. We've got his leader. We then have his heavy specialist and his zealot specialist over on that side. So that is going to be the deployment. We will now roll off to see who will have initiative going into turn 1 here. I roll an 8. My opponent rolls a 3. So we will come back to you after movement phase for the Genestealers, for the Tyranids here on turn 1. All right, so movement phase for the Tyranid is getting very aggressive here. These 2 guys moved up here. When he moved up here, opened the door. Then he advanced, he advanced, he advanced, he advanced, he advanced, he advanced, and this guy over here moved when he opened up the door there as well. So that is the movement phase for the Tyranids here on turn 1. We'll come back to you after movement phase for the Death Guard on turn 1. All right, so the first thing my opponent did was move up to here and try to open the door, and I'm going to try to keep that door closed with a whole bunch of sharp claws over here. So going to be looking for a 5 to deny him opening that door. And I get it with a fill phase. Woo! So then his leader moved up and tried to open the door, and I'm going to try to deny that door opening again. Let's see if this guy, my leader, is smart enough to keep that door closed. Oh, he doesn't this time. And then this guy came up here and tries to open the door, and I'm going to try to deny it again with this guy. Nope, it's opening. All right, so now we have him. His combat specialist is going to charge into my leader over here. He is in. And then the zealot is going to try to charge into my guy over here. He's going to have, he's got to go around him a bit there. So let's see if...
yeah, we'll call that a...
6-inch charge, I think. We'll get him within an inch. And he makes it just. All right, so going into the shooting phase, his guy over here is going to shoot his blight launcher into my combat specialist over here. So he is obscured, so he'd be hitting on 4s, but he gets it with double 6s there. So those are strength...
those are strength 6.
Strength 6, so looking for 3s to wound. Getting 1 wound. Looking for a 5-up invul save. No, don't make it. So what's the damage on it?
D3 wound.
D3 damage, so it's going to be 2 damage, so make 2 out of action rolls here. 2 and a 3, so he takes a flesh wound. All right, now this guy with this with the plague spewer is going to shoot into my 2 guys over here. So he's got D6 auto hits. So it's going to be 1 hit. Going to spend. 1 second. All right, and so we can't re-roll that to spend the command point, so we looked it up. Can't spend the command point to the tactical re-roll to re-roll that, so it's going to be one shot that's going to go into my veteran over here. So it's going to have, what is the strength on that?
Strength 5.
It's going to be strength 5, so looking for a 3 to wound. All right, that's going to be a 4, so 4 wounds. That is going to be looking for a 5-up invul save. No, that's going to go through, so out of action. No, flesh wound. All right, so now my opponent's here. He's going to shoot his plasma pistol into my dude bro over here. So he's obscured and more than half range, so he's looking for a 5 to hit. No hit.
No hit.
Opponent's going to spend a command point to re-roll that. Into a 6, so that is a hit. So that's going to be strength 7, so looking for a 3 to wound. No wound. All right, so into the fight phase, I am going to spend 2 command points for decisive strike to allow my leader to attack into his combat specialist here. So I'm going to have 3 attacks. These are going to be hitting on 3s. All right, getting 3 hits, pretty good there, but looking for 5s to wound because he's strength 4, toughness 5. Ooh, with the fill faces. So that is actually going to be AP minus a bunch. 1 second. All right, so those are going to be just AP minus 4, which is going to go straight through his armor now. So he's got 3 disgustingly resilient 5-up ignoring wounds to go on here. So 3 of those. No, fails them all. So he's only got 1 wound, right? But so let's see if he is out of action here with the 1 roll. With a 3, he takes a flesh wound.
Fair enough.
All right, so now we'll go with the 2 guys who charged again now. So do you want to start with your combat specialist over here?
Yes, I'll start with combat.
Cool, we're going to start with this guy. So he's got the bubonic axe.
Yep, and he gets 3 attacks.
He's going to have 3 attacks because he's the combat specialist over here. These are going to be hitting on 3s to hit. All right, getting 2 hits. Those are going to be strength.
Bubonic axe is strength plus 1.
Strength plus 1, so it's going to be strength 5. So looking for 3s to wound on these. Getting 2 wounds, 2 5-up invul saves. No, fail them. So we're gonna have what is the damage on this?
1.
It's just 1 damage, so 1 roll for out of action. See if he's out. Oh, and he is.
3d3 attack.
All right, so now his zealot specialist is going to attack with the flail of corruption to my dude bro over there. So he's gonna have 3d3 attacks. So he's gonna have 1, 2, 3, 4 attacks. These are going to be hitting on 3. All right, so it's going to be 2 hits. These are now going to be strength. He's got strength plus 1 because of zealot there, and then the flail
Strength 7.
is strength. So he's going to be strength 7. So it's going to be wounding on 3s. These 2 here. All right, so that's 2 wounds, 2 5-up invul saves. Making 1, failing 1, so it's still 1 damage. So here he is. Is he out of action? No, he takes a flesh wound. All right, so now my Genestealer over here is going to attack back into his zealot specialist. I've got 3 attacks. He's got a flesh wound, so he will be hitting on 4s. Getting 1 hit, wounding on a 5. No wound. All right, so that is the end of the turn there. We've got a bunch of guys with the flesh wounds, but none of them can fail their nerve test because of the fact I've only got 1 guy out and he has no guys out. So they can't fail their nerve tests. So at the end of the turn, battle round, I do score the center holding the objective in the middle over here. I also score a point for holding this over here, so I score 2 points. My opponent doesn't score any from here, but he does score a bunch of points from his secondaries here. He scored cut off the head, so he got 4 points for that because it's 5 minus the number of the current battle round, which is 1, so he scored 4 points for that. He got cut apart because he killed something in the fight phase, at the end of the fight phase, so we should have done this at the end of the fight phase, but we're just telling you about it now. Scored a point for that because he did take one of my models out, which happened to be my leader. And then we put Bounty Hunter, but this is actually going to be the mission that is specific to, the objective that is specific to this mission, which is Headlong Charge. You score, at the end of the movement phase, you score 1 victory point if more models, if 2 or more models from your kill team made charges. So he did. He made 2 charges, got the points for that. So that is going to be it for the turn here. My opponent has, like I said, he has 6 points. I have 2 points, and now we will roll off to see who will have the initiative going into turn 2. All right, I rolled a 3, and my opponent rolled a 4, so he will be having the initiative. We'll come back to you after movement phase for the Death Guard here on turn 2. All right, movement phase for the Death Guard here. He moved up over this way. his heavy specialist over here moved up, and he stayed in combat. And we're going to have some charges now. So his combat specialist here is going to charge into my Genestealer over here. So he's going to be looking for a 5-inch charge. Makes it in. And then his leader here is going to charge into him as well. Needs an 8-inch charge to make it in. Oh, double 6s will get him in. All right, so now movement phase for the Tyranids. We're going to start with this guy charging into his Zealot Specialist. 5 inches will get him in. And this guy here is going to charge into his Zealot Specialist as well. And he makes it in. And this guy here is going to charge into his heavy guy. I have out of range line of sight, so he cannot fire Overwatch unless you're going to spend the 1 CP. He's going to spend the 1 CP to fire Overwatch once I get around the corner over here. So we'll do that now. So it's going to be D6 hits. So he's going to get 5 hits real good there. These are strength 5, so these are going to be wounding on 3s. 1 second. All right, so 5 hits, wounding on 3s. That is going to be, wow, okay, 5 wounds. So these are, didn't have enough dice in my hand over here. So these are going to be 5 up invul saves. Nope, not making enough of them. So we've got 1 damage. So 1 out of action. Let's see if he's out. On a 6 he is. My combat specialist is going to charge into his combat and his leader over here. On a 9 he will in. This guy over here is going to charge into the combat specialist. He'll be in with a 6. All right, so into the fight phase, my opponent is going to elect to start with his leader who made the charge there, and he's going to spend 1 CP for lead by example with his leader there. And what's going to happen is he and the other guy within 3 inches can both attack in whatever order he wants to. So the combat specialist is going to start us out here. So he's going to have 3 attacks. These are going to go into which of the guys?
These 2 back guys.
The 2 back guys. So he's going to start.
He's going to put 2 hits.
2 into the combat guy and 1 into the back guy over here. So we're going to have 2 into the combat guy. That is going to be 1 hit. That's going to be strength.
Strength 6.
Strength 6.
I'm sorry. Strength 5.
Strength 5. So still looking for 3s to wound. That is a wound. So we've got a 5 up invul save. And he's good. And then the 1 into the other guy over here. No hit. And now the leader is going to go. He's going to put 1 attack into the scout and 1 attack into my combat specialist. So we're going to have. He's going to be using his power fist. So it's -1 to hit here. So we're going to have the 1 into. Which one do you want to do first?
Combat.
Go into the combat specialist first. So this is going to be hitting on a 4. No hit there. He's going to spend a CP to re-roll that hit roll. So again, looking for a 4. No hit. And then the 1 attack into my scout specialist. No hit. All right, so now we're going to start with my guy over here, putting 3 attacks into his combat specialist. So I'm going to have 3 attacks hitting on 3s. No, that's going to be 2 hits there. These are going to be wounding on 5s. Getting 1, 6, so that's going to be AP minus 4, so it's going to go straight through. So he's going to have 1 5 up disgustingly resilient ignoring wounds. No, so it's going to be +1 because he's got a flesh wound to this out of action roll. And on a 1 he gets another flesh wound. And now my combat specialist is going to put 2 attacks into this combat specialist and 2 attacks into his leader. So we'll do the 2 attacks into the combat specialist first, hitting on 4s because he is flesh wounded. So that's going to be 1 hit. Wounding on a 5. No wound. I'm going to spend a CP to re-roll that. No, still nothing. And then 2 attacks into the leader over here. That is going to be 1 hit. And that's going to be a wound, AP -1, so it's going to be a 4 up save. And he's good. And now the veteran's going to attack into his guy over here, into his zealot specialist. So that's going to be hitting on 4s because he's got a flesh wound, so that's 2 hits. Wounding on 5s, getting no wounds. And then 3 attacks from my other regular guy over there. Hitting on 3s, that's 3 hits. Wounding on 5s. Getting 2 wounds, so it's going to be 2 4 up saves. Failing both of those, and now 5 up disgustingly resilient. Failing both of those, so it's going to be 1 out of action roll here, or injury roll here. And on a 1, he takes a flesh wound. All right, so now his zealot specialist will start us off in the regular fight phase, now that all the charges have gone. So he's going to have 2 D3 attacks. So he's going to have 1, 2, 3 attacks, and then we'll figure out which one he wants to put him into. So he's going to put 2 attacks into the veteran, and he's going to put 1 attack into the other flesh wounded guy. So we'll do the 2 into the veteran first. That is no hits. And then the 1 into the regular guy. No hit. And then my guy over here is going to put 3 attacks into his leader, hitting on 3s. That is going to be 2 hits, looking for 5s to wound. Gotten 1 wound, AP -1, so 4 up save. No, 5 up disgustingly resilient, ignoring wounds. No, so out of, let's see his injury roll now. No, on a 1, it's a flesh wound. And then this guy back here is going to put his 3 attacks into here, hitting on 4s because he's got a flesh wound. That is going to be 3 hits, wounding on 5s. Getting 1 6 and 1 5, so he's got 1 4-up armor save, which he makes. So then he's got 1 5-up disgustingly resilient save from the -4, which is a 6. He's good to go. All right, and that is the end of turn 2. At the end of the turn 2, I score 1 point for holding this. We both have 2 wound characteristics worth of models inside of the center here, so no one gets the point for that. But then in secondary points, I did score. I did have taking. I put down the bounty hunter, which is the headlong charge. So I got 2 guys that charged, so I got 2 points. I got 1 point for that. My opponent also got 1 point for that for having these 2 guys make their charges. And then I also got 1 point for engage on all fronts, which means have someone in each of the different quadrants. So I've got 1 here, 1 there, 1 here, and then 1 up here. So that's going to be, I got a total of 3 points for that turn, and my opponent got a total of 1 point for that turn. So leaving him at 7, leaving me at 5. So we will come back to you. Oh no, now we have to roll to see who will have initiative going into turn 3. I've got 4. My opponent has 7, so we'll come back to you after movement phase for the Death Guard here on turn 3. Sorry, I do have to roll to see if I break this turn because I've got 5 guys with either flesh wound or out of action over here for a total of 9 guys. So I will see if I break. I've got a leadership of 9. With an 8, I'm good to go. And my opponent also has 3 out of his 5 that have flesh wounds. So now we have to see if they are broken.
7.
Leadership of 7. No, with an 11, he will be broken.
Yep.
All right, so he is broken, but he can't fail any of his nerve tests because he has nobody that's out of action. So on a D6, he will never get above his leadership on anyone. So I guess and then it doesn't make a difference if you're broken for the victory points or how long this game goes. So, I mean, I don't know. It doesn't make a difference. So in this case, it doesn't really make a lot of difference. So that is going to be it for the turn. So we'll come back to you with the movement phase. All right, so movement phase. He is going to charge into these guys over here. So his charge distance, on a 10, he'll be in. And then this guy's going to charge into the back 2 over here, getting him in. All right, and movement phase for the Genestealers here. Nobody's moving because these guys are all going to be in combat here, and he's just going to hold that point back there. So that is it for that. There's not going to be any shooting since charges happened, so we'll come back to you with the fight phase.
He does have a plague knife.
All right, so this guy here, his heaviest specialist is going to attack into my veteran with the flesh wound over there. So he's going to have 1 attack here, hitting on a 3. That is a hit. This is going to be wounding on he's strength 4, so wounding on a 4. No wound. All right, and then his gunner over here is going to attack into my combat specialist. So he has 1 attack hitting on a 3. That is a hit. This is going to be wounding on a 4. That is a wound. 5 up save. No save there. So now this is going to be looking for that is going to be out of action. All right, so now his leader is going to attack, and he is going to use lead by example for 1 CP to allow him to both his combat specialist and his leader to attack. So you want to go with first.
I will start with the leader. He's going to put both attacks.
The leader is going to put both attacks into my dude bro back over here. So he's going to have 2 attacks hitting on 3s. That is 1 hit. Strength 4. Oh no, he's got the power fist. So it was actually hitting on 4s, but that was a hit. So that's going to be hitting, now wounding on a 2, because it's strength times 2. That is a wound. 5 up. Invul save. No, it's going to go through. D3 damage. 1 damage, so 1 injury roll here. 3, he takes a flesh wound. And now his combat specialist has 3 attacks. He's going to put 2 attacks into this guy, 1 attack into this guy. So we'll do the 2 into my regular dude bro over there. That is going to be 2 hits. Oh, no. -1 to hit because he's got 2 flesh wounds, so he ignores 1. So it becomes 1 hit. This is going to be wounding on a 3, though, because he becomes strength 5 with the bubonic axe there. That is a wound. So now we have a 5-up, 5-up invul save. Yeah, he's good with a 5. Woo! And now into the one guy back over here. Hitting on a 4 because he's got the flesh wound. That is a hit. This is going to be wounding on a 3. That is a wound. Looking for a 5 to save. No, goes through. So he's already got 1 flesh wound, so it's going to be +1 to this. He's out of action. Now my regular guy here is going to put his 3 attacks into the Zealot. I'm going to have hitting on 3s. So I don't have flesh wound on that guy, so that's going to be 3 hits. Wounding on 5s. Getting 1 wound with a 6, so that's going to be AP -4. So we've got 1 5-up disgustingly resilient. No, goes through. +1 to this roll. Becomes a 3, 2 flesh wounds. All right, so now his Zealot Specialist will attack. He's going to have 2 D3 attacks because he's got the flail. He's also going to spend 1 CP on his Killing Frenzy for his Zealot here, so it's going to be 2 D3. So he's going to have 3 attacks. We'll come back to you with those. All right, so he's going to put 2 attacks onto this guy over here and 1 attack onto him. So we'll do the 2 attacks onto here. Hitting on a 4 because he's got 2 flesh wounds. Getting 1 hit. This is going to be strength 7 or something. It's going to be less than 8, but more than 4. So he will be strength 6. So he's going to be wounding on a 3. That is a wound. That is not a save. So he's already got 1 flesh wound. So a 4 will be out of action. And then the 1 attack into my veteran over here. Not a hit. All right, so now my Veteran Specialist is going to attack into his Zealot Specialist. It's going to be 3 attacks, hitting on 4s because he's got a flesh wound. Getting 1 hit, wounding on a 5. That is a wound, AP -1, so 4-up armor save. He's good. And then he's going to put all his attacks into the Combat Specialist. Getting 1 hit. Getting no wounds. I'm going to spend my CP to reroll that. Still no wound. All right, so that is the end of turn 3 here. I have to take some nerve tests. My guy over, well, these guys are all dead that had it. I've got 1 guy over here that has, I have to see if I am broken. So I've got what guy over there with 9, and I'm good to go, so I'm not broken. But I've got 1 guy over here who, he's my Veteran Specialist, so he's automatically going to pass that. So I actually don't have to take any nerve tests, which is nice. He killed all my guys with the flesh wounds. My opponent is still broken, but he doesn't have anyone out of action, so he can't fail any of the nerve tests. So for scoring, my opponent scores the middle one here for holding that. I don't have the quarters here, but I do hold 1 objective back over here for 1 point. And I did not get any other secondary points. My opponent did get charge 2 guys for this turn again. And then he did get kill something in the fight phase. So he scored that. So he maxed out his the arena card for that, and then he also had maxed out for the leader, and he has 2 points from the cut apart in the fight phase. So he's going to have a total of 9 points because he also scored this middle one here. So it was 2, 3, 6, 7, 8, 9 total points. I have 3 points from holding this. I scored the middle one for 1 turn. So that's going to give me 4 points, and then I got 2 other of the secondaries giving me a total of 6 points. So it's 6 to 9 right now going into turn 4, which we will now roll to see who has the advantage on this one. I rolled a 5, and my opponent rolled a 7, so we'll come back to you after movement phase for the Death Guard. All right, so his guy over here fell back here, so he's within range of the objective. These guys are going to stay in combat. He's going to stay in combat, and then his leader here is going to charge into my Genestealer over here. Rolling a 7, he's in. All right, so movement phase for the Genestealers here. This guy is going to charge into both these guys and him, declare them all as targets. So no one can see him right now, so we're going to need an 11-inch charge to get into him, less to get into these guys. With a 7, he won't get into him, but I will get into these guys. All right, so now his leader is going to start us off in the fight phase. Since there's no shooting to be had, he is going to put both his attacks into my guy that made the charge over here. So these are going to be, and he's going to spend the 1 CP for lead by example, so that both these guys will get to go. So we're going to go with the leader first. So he's going to put 2 attacks into this guy over here, hitting on 3s because he's only got 1. Hitting on 4s because he's got the power fist. He's got the 1 flesh wound, but he ignores that because of transhuman physiology. So he gets 1 hit. This is going to be wounding on a 2. No wound there, but he's going to spend a CP to re-roll that. His last one there into a wound. 5-up ignoring. 5-up ignoring. 5-up invul save. Yeah, with that 5. Nice. And now his combat specialist is going to put 2 attacks into this guy, 1 attack into this guy. So we'll do the 2 attacks into the guy who charged over here. He needs 4s to hit because he's got 2 flesh wounds, getting 1 hit. This is going to be wounding on a 3. That is a wound. 5 up, invul save. Yeah, with that 5! And the 1 into this guy does not hit because of that flesh wound. So he's going to put all 3 attacks into the leader over here. That is 3 hits, wounding on 5s. Getting 1 wound, AP -1, so 4 up, armor save. He's good. And now his Zealot is going to start us off in the regular fight phase. He's going to have 2d3 attacks. Going to get 3 attacks. He's going to put 2 attacks into my veteran over there, 1 attack into my other guy, so 2 attacks into the veteran. He's going to hit 4s because he's got 2 flesh wounds. Getting 1 hit. Wounding on a 3. That is a wound. 5 up, save. No, that's going to go through. So 4 + 1, he's out of action. And the last guy into him, or the last attack into him. That is not a hit. And this guy over here is going to attack into his heavy specialist. Getting 1 hit. But that is a wound. 4 up, armor save. He's good. Now the heavy guy gets to attack back. That is a hit. Strength 4, so looking for 4 to wound. That's a hit. That's a wound. Yeah, we're good with that one. 5 up. Nope. Injury roll. He's out of action. And then my guy back here is going to put 3 attacks into his leader. Getting 2 hits. Getting no wounds. I'm going to spend my last CP to reroll one of those. Yeah, with the 6, that's going to go through the armor. 5 up. Feel no pain. No, it's going to feel that. So injury roll +1. 5, he's out of action. All right, and that is the end of the turn here. My opponent scores 1 for holding this objective back over here. He also killed something in close combat, which is his 3rd point for cut apart, and he also has a model in here, so he gets the point for that. I score 1 for cut off the head, because it was turn 4 when I finally did it, getting 1 point there. 5 - 4 is 1, and that is going to be it. So a grand total for 12 points for the Death Guard, a whopping 7 points, I think, for the Tyranids here. I think they've successfully cleared this Space Hulk of the Genestealer menace as they just went through. So his plan was to come in here and just like shoot him down and just take him out with the plague spewer and the blight launcher. But then he decided in the end to just punch them in the face. And apparently it just worked very well. So a super awesome game. I just had a lot of fun. It was super quick too. I love Arena because of that. It's just really fast and fun. Even though I took like a billion hours trying to figure out how I could get points back, and then once I actually started rolling, it all went to nothing anyway. So awesome time. So I hope you guys have all enjoyed this. I certainly have. I have been Phil the Glacial Geek as always. My opponent's been Chris, and until next time, have fun.